Laurel will be joining in just a second, and Murillo is having some troubles logging in, and I'm going to try to help her with that.
Hey, I just am going to use my phone. I'm getting just an odd security message on my laptop, but that's probably going to take longer than it's worth. So I'm on the phone.
Wonderful. Thank you, Councilmember.
All right. I missed just like the first part of what you were saying, but it looks like Councilmember Gardner and Councilmember Medina are on, so we can go ahead and get started. And on that note, working through the agenda. Apologies, I'm working off a laptop and a phone. All right, so our first item is the approval of the August 13 meeting minutes. I didn't see any changes or edits that I would recommend, so I approve as written. Councilmember Gardner, Councilmember Medina, changes, or do you approve as written?
Approve. Approve.
Great. Any announcements? Doesn't look like there's any. Consent items? Okay, and we'll just move straight into business. We have the Aurora Cultural Arts District Strategic Action Plan, and Ginger, I believe you are presenting.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good to be with you all this afternoon. I am going to just kick us off, and then I'm going to turn it over to Erin Vega, who you all know with the Aurora Cultural Arts District and Library and Cultural Services and the People's Building, and then Morgan Schreiber, who is the chair of the somewhat recently rebranded Cultural Alliance of Downtown Aurora, to walk you through the presentation. We're really excited to share the work of not just Morgan and Erin and the steering committee, but also of the community in developing this strategic action plan for the district. And just sort of to frame it a little bit, I know we'll get more into the presentation, but when we talk about the district, we are talking about the geographic area in Ward 1 of Colfax, from the district itself, which is also an urban renewal area. And then we have this partnership with the 501c3, which is the Creative Alliance of Downtown Aurora, which Morgan serves as the chair of. And so this has been a collaborative effort. Really takes the memorandum of understanding that we've presented to you all, I believe last year, and it starts to put a little bit more meat on the bones and defining what our goals are for the district itself, and then also who and what entity does what to advance those goals. So with that, I'll turn it over to Erin and Morgan to walk you all through the presentation, and then we'll be available for questions afterwards. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ginger, and thank you everybody for giving us a moment to kind of chat about CADA and ACAD and what we've been working on so far with Library and Cultural Services. I'm going to talk first about the background, essentially more recently, how we've gotten to where we are today, and what's already in place. So first off, the rebrand, the rename here, CADA versus ACAD. The difference being ACAD is the geographic area, the physical location, and we wanted to separate the names so that it was a little more clear, because there was definitely some confusion initially in conversations of who we were talking about. So CADA, the Creative Alliance of Downtown Aurora, is the 501c3 partner and governing nonprofit of the district, working in collaboration with the city and the district stakeholders. We have the ability to basically support in a lot of ways, but our focus is very much on the creative portion of that district and whatever it ends up becoming. We also in this past year signed a memorandum of understanding with the city, which has been very exciting because it opened up a lot more options for us to work with the city, to accomplish a lot more. We've seen some really awesome progress and things in the work, which personally I'm very excited about. I think also Ginger and Erin are I'll speak for you guys a little bit here, but I think they're both very excited. So, and then the other part that we have been working on is the strategic plan. We are actually working on two separate strategic or action plans. One is for ACAD and then one is for CADA. The ACAD one is mostly what I'm going to talk about right now, and that is focusing on really activating that MOU and utilizing that partnership between CADA and the city as best we can into its fullest potential. Really looking to work with the community a lot more. There have been through developing the strategic plan, which I'll kind of go into a little bit more of how we have done that. There were a lot of mentions of wanting more communication and more partnership and collaboration with the stakeholders and especially the artists within the district. So that's something that will be addressed within the strategic plan. Looking at investing resources wisely is also going to be a big thing. So focusing on getting funding into the district to support the arts and other creative endeavors. We've already got a ton of murals and we've started getting some music venues and we've got theater venues and we just want to keep going with that and really make the ACAD area something that it's a destination that people want to come to experience the arts. Get some tours in here, lots of fun stuff. We also have the CCI recertification coming up. That's Colorado Creative Industry. So getting these strategic plans was also strategically done for doing that. We want to continue to be a Colorado Creative Industry and Arts District. And I think we have a really strong stance this year too, especially because we are partnering with the city so closely. And then also just being ready for the proposed DDA, if that does pass, we wanted to have a plan ready so that we are hitting the ground running. We can start implementing things, working with the newly formed DDA if that does happen, just kind of making sure that we're covering our bases. Moving on to kind of talking more about how the strategic plan came about and what we did. So the process, we did work with Purpose Aligned, and that was a specific organization that CADA in its previous iteration of ACAD has worked with before, the city's worked with. So very familiar, which is very nice to work with someone who understands what you're talking about and knows exactly what to help us with. So we had a steering committee that was made up of city staff and the CADA board members, and we met regularly to discuss items and kind of where we might want to have this headed. But we also wanted to make sure that we got information from the different stakeholders. So there were interviews and surveys that happened with focus groups and the community. We also had a community kickoff event, which I think some of you were able to attend. So that was awesome. And we just slowly gathered information from all these different parties to hear what do people want to see in the district. Ultimately, while CADA is the governing nonprofit and will be steering a lot of this, it's not about us, right? It's about the community. So we wanted to hear what people want, what they want to see, what's going to make them feel comfortable and excited to come into the district. And then we did an additional, after taking all this information and compiling it, we did an additional community check-in just to make sure that we were on the right path and we hadn't somehow veered off in the wrong direction. So from all of that, then we have developed the action plan and everybody, from what I hear, feels pretty good about that. So we're excited. And it will influence CADA's action plan then. So we are definitely taking our influence and our next steps from what the community wants. Which brings me to another part here, talking about the new mission and vision of the Arts District. So it's really similar to what it was before, but just reworked a little bit to make sure that it includes where we see the district being headed, and just including the more expanded definitions, I would say, of what we're trying to become. So first off, the mission is ACAD cultivates a thriving downtown Aurora by promoting the arts, fostering creativity, and supporting a vibrant, connected community. One thing that was really important with what we were focusing on is arts can sometimes be a little bit limited to like the fine arts, and we want to make sure that we include a lot of the more creative aspects, as well as still including that cultural aspect that we see in the community. Our vision is a flourishing neighborhood where Aurora's culture, creativity, and community come together. So again, kind of stuff that I've talked about of wanting to create a hub that people want to come to and share art and creativity in. And then the next part, I'm going to hand over to Aaron.
Thanks, Morgan. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun working with the CADA board and working with Carrie Drum over at Purpose Aligned. So through all the conversations with community members, stakeholders, venues, there were sort of 5 strategic pillars that were identified through here. And Ginger may have said this, so I apologize. There is an actual the actual strategic plan, which we're more than happy to share with you all as a PDF document if you want to get more into the weeds with some of this. But they're essentially fostering a visually distinctive and welcoming arts designation or destination. The comments about people want to know and residents want to know that they're in a district when they walk in. They want to make sure that as people are driving along the Colfax corridor, that it feels different from other parts of Colfax. Number 2, strengthen awareness and alignment through communication, marketing, and branding. This is something that's come up a few times, but we're really excited about this part of the MOU and how we can move forward as a district through sort of unified branding that the local businesses, restaurants, stakeholders, residents can all be a part of. Number 3, activate public and private spaces to support the arts. So how does the district advocate? How do they sort of promote the idea of using different public spaces in the arts to create positive foot traffic and positive use in some of these facilities? I'm sure all of you are familiar with East Colfax and the narratives around East Colfax. So how do we change that through the arts? And then number 4, advancing programming through collaboration, signature events, and inclusion. This could be anything from the mural festival that was talked about earlier to community events. Dava, for example, is hosting an amazing Dia de los Muertos celebration coming up November 2nd. Hope you all get to come. But how can the district be a strong partner in those events? And then strengthen sustainability and demonstrate the impact of the arts. So again, like Morgan talked about earlier, expanding funding opportunities. They're already partnering with arts organizations, creative LLCs that aren't nonprofits, but act more like social enterprise organizations like Manos Sagrados, which is an incredible concert venue right next door to the People's Building. And they've become the fiscal sponsor for Manos Sagrados. So they can, so that organization can fundraise and do some of their cultural programming, which is fantastic. And there are other groups following suit. And then, of course, supporting artists and creatives through some fundraising efforts and things like that. We can go to the next slide. And then just to sort of wrap up, there's already some fantastic examples of what's been happening. So if you get a chance, please visit the new website, auroraculturalartsdistrict.org. I know it's a mouthful, but it was important to us to make sure we kept the full name intact there. But you can go on there. There's a calendar of events for not just the sphere of control, which is the designated arts district, which is pretty small, but also the sphere of influence. Things, there are incredible artistic events happening at Stanley Marketplace, at the Benson Hotel, at our different brewery partners, and things like that. The library. So if you get a chance, check out that calendar. You will be shocked at the amount of activities in Northwest Aurora and Ward 1. I mean, it's an incredible thing. And it is highly focused on creative arts, cultural arts. We've expanded our social media presence. Since they are a nonprofit, they have a TikTok. The city's not allowed to have one, but the CADA board really wanted to have one. So the Arts District has a TikTok, and I am proud to say it is doing really well. So if you get a chance, the content that's being made for our social media and YouTube channels are fantastic. We're partnering with the Colorado Creative Industries on a passport program. The state's Office of Tourism, in which CCI sits under, has created a passport program for the arts districts, mostly in rural areas, although the Denver Metro has a few. And so we're already providing opportunities to the local businesses and venues for buy one, get one free opportunities or things like that to help drive traffic to the neighborhood. The CADA board is adding more new board members, really with specialized skills to help them reach their next level. We've got First Fridays. We're starting to partner with Stanley Marketplace, Cerebral Brewing, the People's Building, the Fox, Dava, all sorts of great things happening there. And new collaborations daily. So, of course, this all is preparing us for the CCI recertification process in 2026. So thank you so much for having us, and I'll pass it back to Ginger.
Thanks, Morgan and Aaron. Appreciate all the hard work and getting us to this action plan, but would love to open it up for questions from council members on anything you heard or more that you would like for us to elaborate on.
Councilmember Gardner?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for the presentation. Really appreciate it. As most of you know, an area near and dear to my heart because I previously served on the Arts District Board years ago. It's how I got involved in the city, so maybe that's bad news for some people. But I guess what I'm wondering about, well, a couple things, but where I want to start is how the district will be branded, presented to the public. So I understand ACAD, CADA. For those who've been around a long time, this area, we've had a million different names. I think it was called the East Ends Arts District when I was on the board. And you know, I'm not sure the name is as important as sticking with a name, right? And so I'm just curious, like, how it's going to be branded to the public, signage. You know, you said if the DDA passes, I'm saying when the DDA passes, there's going to be funds available for placemaking, like all of those kinds of things. And so I'm just curious what the dynamic is between the two and what conversations have been had around how we're going to brand it to create that sense of place.
Yeah. Well, I can start, and then Aaron and Morgan, please feel free to chime in. It's a great question, and certainly, you know, I guess speaking for myself, when the DDA passes, we will be excited to partner with that entity as well, because we certainly want to complement and not compete and make sure that we're in collaboration. But one of the things that we have talked about when the district, you know, sort of moved into library and cultural services, you know, Aaron in his position, as did the People's Building, as did some funds that were in the planning's budget, also moved over to library and cultural services. So we do have some funds available that we have talked about using for that sort of branding and placemaking, you know, collateral and wayfinding and some of those elements. And so that's something that we've just started talking through and it is high on the list from stakeholders and community members. They really want you to feel like you're in a district, and you know that the look and feel is an important part of that placemaking effort. So so we're excited to work with CADA to develop that, and again, that can be things that, you know, live on a website, but also have and digital platforms, but also can be, you know, in the public sphere through signage, wayfinding, and some of those things. And I know I'll just add, and maybe Morgan you can add too, but there's also this desire for sort of moments of surprise and delight, as we call it, within the district itself. And I think, you know, there's logos and there's banners, but there's also these little moments, you know, Easter eggs that we want to have around the district that I think will also help to kind of create a sense of place. So those are some of the things that we're starting to just talk about that then will be hopefully evident over time with investment and partnership with the DDA, that you'll start to see some of those things come together. But Morgan or Aaron, anything else you want to add to that?
I was just going to say, so you specifically brought up the name changing, which I think one thing at least that will be a little bit easier is that ACAD is still the name of the district. And mostly what you'll see CADA show up, it would be like on posters for events or as like a partner. Because CADA's not trying to step up and take that main like spotlight or anything. So the branding will still focus on the district itself. And then, yeah, we're looking at not necessarily like an overhaul rebrand, but just what else do we need to do to continue to have a very clear brand book, essentially, and then a path forward for any of the placemaking and wayfinding.
And add my 2 cents really quickly. What's beautiful about what's happening here, in my opinion, when the DDA passes, I will also speak for myself. When the DDA passes, what CADA offers, or what the district offers, because it is a separate 501c3, as incredible as our graphics team is, and as incredible as the communications team is with the city, there are restrictions that go with that, and there aren't when it comes to the district, because it's its own separate 501c3. So if the DDA is partnering with the arts district, because the arts district will fall within that, I think there's a lot more freedom and flexibility in terms of design that gets really exciting, that could maybe meet residents where they are.
Okay. Can I ask another question, Councilmember Murillo?
Yes.
Okay, so my next question is on the CCI designation. And you talked about it, Aaron. Well, I think all three did, but there's a lot of really, it's a packed calendar in terms of what's going on in Northwest Aurora. As far as the CCI designation goes, trying to think how to ask this, because I don't want to make anyone think that I think you all need to do more. I guess how I'll ask it is, would more resources allow us to take advantage of more grant and funding opportunities through CCI, or is that kind of just a designation and that's really it? So I guess I'm curious, like, would additional resources help us be able to take advantage of other opportunities? I guess maybe whether it's through CCI or elsewhere.
Yeah.
Well, in short, yes. Always. Morgan, I stepped on you though. Go ahead.
That's okay. I was just going to say a lot of the funding through CCI is matching grants. So additional resources, yes, would help us to be able to be eligible for larger grants in a simple terms.
That was probably an easier way. I could have just asked her most of the grants matching grants, and that would have made it a lot easier. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Just quickly, this is also the helpful thing about the CADA ACAD separation. CADA, in their strategic plan or action plan, whatever they want to call it, they've already started identifying grant opportunities and things that, as a nonprofit, they can go after that the city cannot. And in fact, the city's already partnered with them on a couple of grant opportunities, which is pretty great. I don't think we've received any yet. Fingers crossed, but time is coming. So I think there are again opportunities in partnering with a 501c3 that has a strong MOU attached to it, a memorandum of understanding attached to it, so that we can sort of hold each other accountable as we seek additional funds to potentially be those matching funds for grants and things. And
then lastly, maybe a shameless plug or question or ask, but is doing a First Friday Arts Walk. I know it's kind of cliche. A lot of other districts do it. But I will tell you, back years ago, that's where I met at the time Ward 1 council member Melissa Miller. It brought activity and people into the district. And at the time, I think the struggle was there weren't places to eat and drink. That is changing. There are now becoming places to eat and drink. And so, I would just throw that out there as a shameless ask or plug. That's all for me.
Well, I'll just say that, the city just entered into an agreement with Marigold Market to try to activate the restaurant space at Colfax and Florence. And so they're going to be doing their due diligence over the next several months in Hopefully we'll be able to bring forward to council a proposal that would include additional food and beverage options and really activate that corner across from Cerebral. So hopefully that will be something that'll be enticing to you and your colleagues when we do that.
Thank you. Great questions, Councilmember Gardner. Councilmember Medina, any questions?
Yes, just something real quick. As you're kind of looking at the marketing piece of that, is there ways that you can do some kind of either mascot or something that joins that community together, you know, some kind of emblem or something that can be put on streets, you know, every one of the street lights in a designated area, you know, whatever that may be, 2 or 3 block radius, so that you get that feel, right? So that when you're driving through, you know that you've kind of stepped into a different part, even though it's the same corridor, but it feels different, right? And it shows by, you know, the transition. So I'm just asking that.
I love that idea. It's like, you know, Denver has its one blue bear. We could have many blue bears or something. Yeah, I think those are the kind of ideas that we would love to explore and you know, put to in partnership with a, you know, design firm. You know, what does that look and feel? We've talked, and I think it was on the in the deck about, you know, wanting to do sort of an urban design master plan, because you really, you know, at some point you want this place to have like a consistent and cohesive look and feel, and not just a bunch of stuff kind of willy-nilly all over the place. And so that's, I think, one of the areas I think we need to do that in tandem with those kind of ideas, so that we're placing things where they may, you know, make the most sense. But I love that idea.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember Medina, and I look forward to seeing what that might look like. Yeah, I mean, just like a comment on the nonprofit piece, working in that industry and also just seeing, like, I guess, the trends from the larger council around, you know, their attitudes around towards nonprofits. I think when we were having conversations around the DDA, an integral part of that was some version of a nonprofit. We called it a community development corporation, which likely would end up manifesting to be some sort of nonprofit, specifically to be able to leverage different pots of funding that currently is a little bit harder for us to access. So just want to like echo, you know, if there are you know, many ways, well, there are many ways that we could likely leverage. I know that this nonprofit is a little bit more geared towards funding. So I'm sorry, funding of like marketing. So I'm not as familiar with that, but you know, I'd be curious to see if we could make the case to partners like the Colorado Health Foundation, as I've mentioned before. East Colfax, Northwest Aurora is one of their priority areas. So if there's a way to kind of connect the work that we're doing with programming the space in a positive way, you know, and some of the outcomes as a result of that, maybe we can make the case for a small grant to leverage through them or, you know, another organization. So no questions, just wanted to comment on the nonprofit piece. And thank you all for the presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
And I believe that's just information only, yeah?
Correct.
Great. I think that's it for the agenda, y'all. It's a pretty fast meeting. We'll just ask if there are any miscellaneous items that we need to talk about and confirm our next meeting, and then we can adjourn. Anything we need to discuss outside of that agenda item?
None from staff today.
Okay. All right. Easy peasy. November 19th at 3 p.m. Does that still work for everybody?
Yes.
I'm going to be at the National League of Cities City Summit during that day. can I let you know if my plane is landed by then yeah, I'll jump on remotely. But maybe I'll follow up with staff and just make sure I'll be available for it. Otherwise, yes.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, enjoy the trip.
Thank you.
Alrighty, y'all. We are adjourned. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.